Background verification is a crucial process employed by organizations to evaluate the credibility and suitability of individuals for various purposes, be it employment, tenancy, or financial transactions. Now, historically, this process relied on manual procedures and had limited data sources. However, a new era of background verification has emerged thanks to innovative technologies. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, new technologies have completely changed the way background checks are conducted, making the hiring of new employees a much less labor intensive task. Now, are you curious about the evolving world of background verification and how the power of technology is transforming it? Let's dive deep into it by having a conversation with Ajay Tehran, founder and CEO of AuthBridge. Hi, Ajay, how are you doing?
Very well, Priya. Thank you very much for inviting me over. It's a pleasure.
Great. It's a pleasure for us to have you on a podcast today. I gave a basic intro about background verification and how probably technology is playing a crucial role. But of course, we'll dive deep into it. So let's start by, telling our listeners about what exactly is Outbridge, what is specialization, and what's one of the core problem or areas Outbridge is trying to solve.
Sure. No, love to. So thanks a lot. So AuthBridge, is one of the largest companies, technology companies in the country in the business of what we call simplifying trust. In any business relationship or any relationship, trust is an implicit factor. It's a very important factor that, forms the core and the foundation of how that relationship is going to go further. There are elements to trust, the classical trust equation, as we call it. There's credibility, there's reliability, there's intimacy and self-orientation. So you want to know how credible this person or this business entity is with whom you're going to do business. How reliable are they? And that's the problem we solve for close to about 2,000 plus companies in India and many organizations outside of India today using our technology and platforms. So one of the biggest problems, as you mentioned in your introduction, that we solve for the industry today is screening employees. And that's it's been a interesting journey doing and solving that problem for the last 18 years for some of the largest corporations in India, where, solving the credibility aspect and the reliability aspect of trust, is where we come in, where we look at, anything that the candidate states on his profile or resume, whether it's his, identity or education or employment, or for companies, it's their static data like ownership patterns and financials. Or when it comes to reliability, we look at, the experience that the individual says he's been through in his journey. Or for a company, we look at their ability to deliver and their regulatory compliances, etc. All of this, is done using a whole lot of data that is available publicly or through various sources, including some from the government and some from other, organizations where these people or these companies have engaged in the past. So that's what we do, and that's one of the biggest use cases we solve. Other than that, we provide a whole lot of technology and platforms in the third-party risk and due diligence space, and also to fintech companies, helping them do KYC, AML, and digital onboarding of their customers seamlessly.
Oh, great. Glad to know about the company and thank you for letting us know about the company in deeply and a brief manner. Now, since while we have known about the company, we would also like to know more about you. You have been an entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in building and operating successful businesses. So, can you tell us about yourself and your journey till date, or your role and contribution towards the company?
Yeah, so I've got over 30 years of experience now, corporate experience. Started my career straight out of IIT Delhi, where I did my engineering way back in 1993. And the journey thereof started with 7 years of corporate career and then 24 years now as an entrepreneur. Oxbridge is going to complete 19 years in another month. So out of those 24 years, 19 years have been building Othbridge to what it is today. It's one of the largest technology company in the space we do business in. My role at Othbridge as the founder and chief executive of Othbridge encompasses a wide range of responsibilities, spectrum of responsibilities, largely aimed at steering the company towards a sustained growth and innovation. As I mentioned, the space we are in is of risk and trust is very complicated and it's evolving every day. So anybody who has to grow and stay ahead of the curve has to continue to innovate and continue to solve existing problems through better and faster techniques, or continue to look at all the new challenges that are coming in the corporate world and see how we can solve for them. So that's where I give strategic direction to innovation and future of the organization. We've stayed at the forefront of technology. That's been our biggest USP, and somewhere at AuthBridge we've kind of adopted technology at a very very early stage. We were 2005 is when I founded it. 2008 is when we actually automated our entire set of business processes. And how we did that is being taught as a case study in Cornell University in the MBA program at the Johnson School of Management as a case study. So that's been a great recognition of the work the team has put into building what we've built. Now, the other area, of course, needless to say, where I spend a lot of my time is building the talent, and the right culture within the organization. 18 years is a lot of time. We're almost in another year, another few months, going to be 19 years. So 2 decades almost of building the company. Organization has changed from pure services to pure technology. So that's a huge transition and a huge transformation for both the people within the organization as well as our styles of working. So the culture has evolved to adapt to these new ways of working from being a services organization to a technology organization. And I've kind of been working very closely with the leadership team at AuthBridge, which we've hired and nurtured very carefully over a period of time. And that's something that takes away a lot of my time. And I love investing time with people. Other than these two or three areas, of course, I engage with other industry leaders in various forums to continue to understand what are the challenges the industry sees in future, and if there is anything that AuthBridge needs to do to be able to solve for those challenges today, so that we are ahead of the curve and being able to assist clients in letting them do their business while we take care of the risk part of their business ourselves. So that's been the journey in short, but it's been fun, it's been exciting, it has had its own highs and lows, it's had its own set of challenges, but it's been fun building an interesting business in India.
Right, quite an impressive journey, I must say, Ajay, and thank you for sharing
Thank you, Priya.
that with us. And so moving ahead, I mean, we spoke about background verification, identity verification, and it has evolved, alongside digital and remote services. So from e-visits to e-transfers, businesses need secure and efficient ways to confirm people's identities while also complying with privacy laws and user preferences. And we already know about artificial intelligence. So likewise, it has also transformed the background verification through automation of repetitive tasks, leading to more improved efficiency. So, that they're able to analyze a lot of things swiftly and accurately and, accelerating the entire verification process. So, we know about artificial intelligence, but what are some of the technological advancements that are improving the verification accuracy and the process?
Yeah, so OnBridge or our journey has been it's an interesting case study on how technology has completely transformed the way we do business now, and is continuing to redefine our ways of doing business as we talk as well. AI, of course, is the buzzword, but if I go back 18 years when I started the business back in August 2005, I remember talking to my first few customers and telling them that we can do background checks on people. People were wondering whether this can even be done or not, right? So we were the first ones in the country to actually start at scale. So we had to go around first asking the sources of information whether they will help us, whether they'll contribute to the process of background checks, or if we reach out to them, checking with them about their previous employees, or or with other education institutions about people who passed out from there, whether they'll respond also or not. So from there today to being able to do a lot of these checks within a few seconds on just a click has been an amazing transformative journey. Early stages, everything that we did was manual, paper driven, as inefficient as one can imagine, very time consuming. A typical background check report would take as much as 30 to 60 days sometimes for us to generate and give a response back to our customers. Then, of course, 2008, we took the first baby steps towards technology adoption, where we changed our workflows to full fledged case management system that we built in house. There was nothing for us to buy off the shelf. in the market. So we built a case management application called Bridge, which is what I mentioned earlier, is taught as a part of the case study at Cornell. We realized that data privacy and scalability of our business is going to be crucial as we go through the journey in future. So we had to make sure that when we do somebody's background check, that individual's data, even within our own organization, is available to people only on a need to know basis. It shouldn't be available easily. In a manual, paper driven process, the data is just all over the place. So, Bridge as a case management system changed that for us, right? So, the data became very secure. It went into silos. It was available only to people on a need to know basis. And then, starting 2010, we started the next phase of our journey where we started looking at sources of data that we were accessing to verify people or companies. So whether it was, where criminal records or litigation records in India were lying, and how could we get access to them so that we could do a criminal check or a criminal record verification quickly, as compared to doing it over 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days in the conventional process. So we started building access to those data sets, building digital records internally within AuthBridge. When we were doing that back in 2010, we still didn't know how will we search those records. So just to give you a perspective of the scale, we had about 27 to 28 crore litigation records that we had mined from multiple sources. Now, to search for a name and a specific address in those 28 crore records within a few seconds, when none of these records had any unique identifier in them, was itself a huge challenge. So, and we didn't know really at that time. And machine learning and AI and elastic searches and some of these new age technologies were not born then, at least not available in India easily. And then, of course, the next big thing that started happening in this business was the regulatory changes. So with the regulators coming out and asking for a lot of care to be taken in how data is handled, put a very different level of compliance pressure both on our client organizations and on us. And we had to solve for all this. And obviously the solution lied in technology. So the way we are today, I mean, cut to if we come to today, there's enormous amount of robotic automation in our processes to ensure that our data is visible only to very, very few people, and that also on a need to know basis. There is extensive use of search algorithms and artificial intelligence within AuthBridge for us to be able to search for data in a search for a needle, literally in a haystack. We are continuing to build more innovation around trust. For example, one of the most, I would say, contemporary changes in the way trust is being evaluated is it can't just be at the time of hiring employees or just at the time of onboarding a customer or onboarding a vendor. The trust evaluation has to be an ongoing process. So you want to know right through the life cycle of that employee or that vendor or that customer whether he's continuing to be trustworthy. An employee, does he have a litigation that could impact his job or the company's reputation because of that? So opened the whole continuous monitoring problem for the corporate world, which we now solve through a series of products at AuthBridge. And then, of course, last but not the least, the user experience. So when we do background checks, we are getting in touch with candidates, employers, and multiple sources of data. How do we make sure that their use of our technology and their whole experience of background check is very seamless and very comfortable and non-intrusive in nature? And that is a lot of work on the user experience side, and I'm very happy that we've stayed at the cutting edge of user experience with a whole lot of innovation on letting our customers or their subjects use our platforms, mobile phones, and whatever the devices they are comfortable using. So we've been evolving constantly, over a period of last 18 years. And while we talk, there is something or the other new coming up all the time. And I'm very sure that in another 2 years, this space is going to be very different compared to where it looks today, how it looks today.
Right. I think, well, I mean, there are a lot of things and aspects that go behind the entire background verification. And thank you for letting us know the different technologies or the different aspects that come into picture when we're creating solution and then enhancing the verification process and accuracy. But I think the interconnected nature of modern business environments means that organizations often share data and resources with external parties to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. However, this collaboration also introduces new challenges, as a security posture of third parties may differ from the organization's own standards. Now, when an organization relies on such third party services, it also introduces a level of dependency that can expose it to various cyber risks. Now, these risks can include data breaches, unauthorized access, other security incidents that may impact the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of sensitive information. So, when we're talking about the background verification process, there's still there's a room for risks as well when we're talking about it. So, what role does AuthBridge play in third-party risk mitigation? If you can share some real-world case scenarios or case studies at AuthBridge to highlight its significance.
Yeah, so see, third-party risk management is very similar to what we do in the employee screening space. It's just that the subject changes from employee to a third party that you would do business with, whether it's your customer or vendor or distributor or a franchisee or anybody in your ecosystem, or even a corporate client for a corporate. So that's where we offer a whole range of products like, as I mentioned, the KYC, the ML of which is anti-money laundering products, to check if the person or the party you're doing business with has been involved in any kind of activity that could be construed as money laundering, or would let them would push them into getting sanctioned by global ecosystem, so could impact your business. So if you are, for example, buying a product from a vendor where the one of the shareholders of the vendor or one of the persons on the board of the company has been involved in anything negative, whether from a anti-money laundering perspective or from a compliance perspective, that could impact your business also, because if the vendor shuts down or is barred from doing business by any of the law enforcement agencies, your business could get impacted. So that's where we come in. We offer multitude of checks and balances to our clients depending on the nature of their business. So a FMCG company would be very different from, let's say, a retail company on how they look at risk, could be very different from a cab aggregation company, could be very different from a gaming company. Now, depending on what risks, whether regulatory or intrinsically operational, they see in their business, we would craft a solution, a specific solution for them. Of course, for over years of experience, we've created a standard offerings for many of our customers. So we know if you're a gaming company, most likely you'll have exposure to these. There are certain risks we know, and we would just quickly kind of give you a platform, and you can just plug it into your workflows and business, and you go live with us like within 24 hours. But in some cases, we have to go deeper and solve for your problems for specific use cases. Where we are different here is that there are many other players in the market offering very fragmented solutions with very specific that solve very specific problems for due diligence and risk. But we stand out because we provide everything on a very comprehensive and unified platform. We call it Onboard X, which can practically be configured to onboard anybody and any kind of third party onto the system. That kind of an offering gives an end-to-end coverage to the customers. Our ability to plug and play and give them a solution to a new problem that they come across while doing business, even after starting with us, is very quick at doing some of these changes because of the inherent nature of the OnboardX platform. We've, over a period of time, had many success stories. Was the big ones there being one of the largest real money gaming company in the country, Dream11, for whom we do KYC of their customers before they start playing on the Dream11 app. That's a regulatory requirement, and it has to be done very quickly and seamlessly so that the customer experience does not break during the process. And it's been an honor to be working with them for the last many years, making their journeys very seamless and secure. Similarly, we work with one of the largest laminate manufacturers in the country, Greenlam, to help them onboard their suppliers digitally. They traditionally had a very manual process, but we shifted them to a digital process on OnboardX that cut down their supplier onboarding time by 70, 80%. And of course, all the challenges they had around digital repositories and record keeping and hence compliances were all taken care of in the process automatically because of the way our products work. So many such case studies, but largely third party risk is a constantly evolving area. We've been honored and we're blessed to have partnered with some of the most respectable organizations in the country today, and we become the first port of call for some of these organizations every time they see any kind of risk in their business. They reach out to us. We look at the problem that they're facing in their business that's distracting them from doing their business well. We take that problem over from them. We solve for it, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to solve many problems for many of our customers very quickly.
Great, glad to know about it, Ajay, and thank you for sharing about some of the success metrics that you have witnessed at AuthBridge. And yes, I think it's very important that you really need to have a proactive approach because everything is just interconnected these days. But when you're talking about this interconnectiveness, I think security and trust are very important, and I think you mentioned about it also in earlier of your responses. A lot of it relies on rules and moral principles, but the foundation for preserving the accuracy of background checks is, I believe, somewhere compliance. So, respecting
Absolutely.
established rules and industry best practices aids in confirming the veracity of data acquired through the screening procedure. So, I want to understand from you what is the impact of these regulations and compliance, and of course, the changes that we are seeing in compliance rules and the verification and due diligence practices.
Yeah, so the big one, of course, is the Data Protection, Personal Data Protection Act that came into being in India very recently, and that lays the foundation for many more similar acts and amendments that will come in a lot of other regulatory regulations over a period of time. The nature of our business is such, and also the nature of trust in the market or the industry is such that a lot of regulators like RBI for the banking and financial services sector, SEBI for the entire equities market, and IRDA for the insurance space, and likewise now with the regulator hopefully getting formed for DPDP, Data Protection Act. All these regulators are watching the use of data, storage of data, and dissemination of data very, very carefully. And they are trying to define very clearly who owns the data, and therefore, in case of a breach of data or misuse of data, who's accountable. And that's obviously good for the individual and good for the subject who's getting verified, because he's then increasingly more, he feels more safe about about giving out his data for verification and authentication purposes, unlike in the past where a lot of times people would question us and say, why should I give you my data and how do you assure that the data is secure? Today, I think government is playing a big role in that. Just the way some of the global regulations had come in, India now has a fairly stringent regulation around it. And we as an organization are fully compliant to it. And I'm sure there are many other organizations who are in our, who will have to be compliant.
Right, yeah, definitely it makes sense, Ajay, and it's really important to be compliant with these rules and regulation to ensure accuracy and also to have like more inclusiveness and trust within the entire ecosystem, basically. But like, I want to understand this entire data that we collect in terms of background verification. You can also be susceptible to data breaches and identity theft as well. So, what is the role of data security, and if you can highlight its significance in maintaining trust in the entire verification process?
Yeah, so data security is intrinsic to our business. We invest a lot in ensuring that the data that we collect and we use and we disseminate is very, very secure. Firstly, we collect it only if we need it. Second, we use it for the purpose that it has been collected for only. And third, we store it and disseminate it exactly as per the regulatory requirements. And if the regulatory requirements are clear that we can't store data, the data is never stored. So certain forms of data is never stored. So ensuring confidentiality of data, ensuring integrity of our own processes from a data security standpoint, and ensuring that the data is available to people even within our organization only on a need to know basis is very, very important. So and obviously and just the way you asked me this question, Priya, a lot of our customers also ask this question. So we have to make sure that our customers get that confidence when they look at considering AuthBridge for doing business with us. So we are, as an organization, we've been compliant to ISO 27001 standard which was one of the traditional, the most kind of robust standards on information security. Subsequently, SOC 2 Level 2 compliance, again on data, and then more recently, in the last 4 5 years, the strong frameworks to comply with the global data protection regulation, which is GDPR, which is a EU act on how data needs to be stored, collected, and made available. And now, most recently, the Data Protection Act in India. So government's also playing its role. Regulators are coming in, but as an organization, we make sure that we are complying to every single standard that's laid out by all of these bodies.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's very important, and it definitely makes sense to ensure data security in order to earn the trust of your customers. So I think by addressing these ethical considerations and ensuring legal compliance, organization can truly harness the power of different technologies and background verification while maintaining fairness and transparency as well. So one last question for you, Ajay, and that would be like, what are some of the trends that you predict will shape the future of the background verification industry, and how AuthBridge is poised to leverage those trends?
Just the way, Priya, you mentioned in your previous question, I think data privacy and hence the regulatory compliances that both us as an organization have to honor and respect, and also our client organizations have to respect, is going to be one of the biggest factors in the that will shape the background screening industry in future. So the regulations are evolving, requirements from government are changing. There are case laws that are coming in based on basis, things that happen in the industry. We have to continue to keep, as an organization, we have to continue to keep ourselves completely up to date on what's going on and ensure that we are ahead of time before the regulators come in looking for issues within the organization, to make sure that we are properly stitched up. So that's one big change or big thing that's going to shape the future: regulatory compliances and standardization of processes. The second one is the user experience, because you see, nobody likes to get checked, right? Nobody wants to get undergo a background check process, whether you are a vendor or a distributor or an employee. It's always a painful process. It always is intrusive. You're asked for data which sometimes you may not find easy to access, and then somebody like us will continue to be following up with you to make sure that you give your data on time. It's never a very pleasant experience. So it's our job as an organization to make sure that experience is actually smooth. And that's what we continue to invest a lot on, to make sure that when you undergo a background check process, you don't feel that it's a painful process which is impacting your day-to-day life. So and more so, it becomes a useful tool for you for future as well. So that's how a lot of brainstorming happens within AuthBridge. So that's our next phase of innovation, anyways, where we smoothen the candidate and user experience to the next level. And last but not the least, I mean, organizations have us also, and likewise corporates have to look at the ethical considerations of background checks. There are a lot of, while privacy concerns are one, there are ethical considerations also on the background check part. So you could be barring somebody from doing a job just because there is something that happened in his past. So one has to, really take a concerted view on that, whether you really want to hold that person responsible for what happened in the past, and maybe he went through a phase of, punishment or whatever because of that, and maybe he's come out as a better individual. So those are challenges and ongoing principles that we keep looking at in this business. And it's always good fun to keep working with our customers, keep listening to them, and solve for those. And that's what we've excelled in the last 18 years of our 19 years now, almost of our life.
Yes, truly, and we are glad to see AuthBridge at the forefront of cutting-edge innovations that could add more accuracy and smoothen out the entire process of the background verification. But I think overall technology has significantly impacted this industry, and it ensures that it's enhancing its efficiency, accuracy, as well as data security, like you mentioned. But despite the numerous benefits, I think it's very important that companies and organizations navigate the ethical considerations and privacy concerns to ensure equitable and transparent verification practices. And by when they are responsibly and ethically, embracing and integrating such technology, they can leverage its potential by making well-informed decisions and upholding ethical standards and respecting the user privacy rights as well. So it's more like a win-win situation that they can achieve. Well, thank you so much, Ajay. It was a pleasure having you with us on our podcast, and I think we had an insightful conversation regarding the background verification and how technology is transforming it and what are some of the trends that we can foresee in the future. So it was quite an insightful one, and thank you for your time and effort.
Thank you very much, Priya. It was my pleasure to be speaking to you, and I hope this was helpful to your listeners. Thank you so much.
Yes, definitely it was. Well, this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, and you can view and listen all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.